Frank Reich is officially out as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers. This comes as the team is dealing with one of the worst starts in franchise history.
What looked to be a promising season with a new head coach and the first overall pick at the helm in Bryce Young has turned out to be nothing short of a disaster. Sports director Nick Carboni joining us right now. Nick, it was a few months ago. Everybody was feeling good and optimistic about the new QB, the new coach. This took a downhill turn quickly.
Yeah, and it's shocking if you look at it in the context of the fact that Frank Reich was hired within the calendar year, but if you've watched this team all season through the first 11 games, it is not really that surprising at all. Reich, fired by owner David Tepper just 305 days after he was hired. At 11 games, it's the fourth shortest tenure of any head coach in NFL history. So Reich has an offensive background, that's why he was hired, but the offense has been one of the worst in the NFL all year, with really no signs of progress or improvement, despite Reich surrendering play calling duties, then a few weeks later yanking them back. Since the bye week, this team has scored just 12 points per game. They played 11 games this season, and in only 3 of those games did this offense score more than 1 touchdown. It's certainly been a rough go for rookie QB Bryce Young. He doesn't have a lot of help around him, and Reich, a former pro quarterback, was brought here to help and usher along Young, but we haven't seen much progress there either. So after a 1-10 start, the Frank Reich era already over, didn't even last all of 2023. Special teams coordinator Chris Tabor will be the interim coach for the remaining 6 games. But guys, many eyes now, especially nationally, turning to David Tepper, the owner. This is the 3rd full-time head coach he's fired since taking over 6 years ago. And if you count all the interim coaches, that's 6. And that's just on, the American football side. He just fired another soccer coach a couple of weeks ago, his 2nd in just 2 seasons.
So what do you think happens from here? Who are they going to get?
That's the big question, right? And everybody now wondering, with David Tepper's kind of habit of having not a lot of patience, who's going to want the job? One of the big candidates last year was a young offensive coordinator from Detroit, Ben Johnson, who actually decided to stay as an assistant with the Lions rather than interview for the head coaching position here. So even if you covet somebody like that, will they want to work for David Tepper, an owner who has not shown much patience?
And for NFL rules, they can't interview people technically until January.
Right. There's a process. You have to wait. So it's going to be Chris Tabor, the special teams coordinator. I don't think anybody expects him to eventually land the full-time role, especially after Steve Wilks was unable to do so, despite last year's really great run towards the end of the season. So there's a couple of guys on this very high-paid coaching staff that you would hope would be interviewed, but do they want to stay through all this?
All right.
Interesting, Nick. Well, we appreciate your insight. I know you'll continue to follow this.
Talk to you again in 30 minutes.
Yep.
And Gene Robinson as well will be joining us. All right, Nick, thanks.